Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Henry. Oh, I thought you turned into a black.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Yep. Welcome to web.dev live, Kuala Lumpur, and thanks for joining us today. So today we have our two speakers and Yasin from DevSpace Singapore joining us today, and I'm from Google Developer Group Kuala Lumpur. So Henry and Johan will be our speakers for today. Yep. So let's get into it. Right. So so there's a lot of interesting things they announced at this year's web.dev live, right? And it's actually something very different because usually we are always watching Google I/O for these kind of things, but this year, we can't do that. So this is a little bit like an extension of that to bring web.dev live closer to home in Kuala Lumpur and Southeast Asia. Yep. So thanks to DevSpace Singapore for helping us to host this. Right, Justin?
Yep, no worries. Okay, so hi everyone. Welcome to Google Developer Space channel. And thanks for tuning in to the live stream on a Saturday. So a big hello to our friends watching on our YouTube channel and also Facebook live stream on GDG KL. So do make use of the live chat, whether you're on YouTube or Facebook, to ask your questions, and we will get to them at the end of every speaker session. Yeah, before we begin, let me briefly introduce what Google Developer Space is about. So it's a platform for developers and startups from around the region to learn, connect, engage, and be inspired. As part of the developer relations team, we aim to empower and connect the community to our people, program, network, and technologies, be it in person, like a few months ago, or online, like recently. Yeah, so for today's session, we'll be talking about web dev. And without further ado, I'll hand the stage over to Eric to start today's session.
Okay.
Over to you.
Thank you, Jesse. So, like I said just now, so there's a lot of exciting new stuff. But personally, I think the one I like the most is probably like Chrome DevTools with the Issues tab. So when you open F12, or if you open the Chrome DevTools, you won't get bombarded with all the issues anymore because they moved all to a new tab, right? So that's really nice. And then you have the tooling.report, a new website to from Google to help you measure the performance of your website and such. And also there's Lighthouse. Actually, you know what? I think I'm talking too much. This is Henry's stage. So Henry, your turn.
Yeah.
Henry, okay? Henry, you look really good today.
The panda.
Okay.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining today. My name is Henry. I'm a GD in Web Technologies. Before I begin, there are a few things you need to know. First, I will share my slides on my Twitter. So after presentation, I will share the link on there so you can go there, follow me, and look at the full presentation with all the links. And again, if you have any question, feel free to leave it in the comment section or in the live chat. I will try to answer your question at the end of the presentation. All right, so we have tons of stuff to talk about today, like JavaScript, CSS, PWA, Chrome DevTools, and more. Let's begin with the first one, browsers. Let's talk about Chrome 84. Fun fact about Chrome 84 is it just released 4 days ago on this Tuesday, so everything is still super new. So let's begin with the first feature, app shortcuts. So you know this. Maybe if you use Android phone, you know this. If you long press on the app icon, then you get this. This feature is coming to PWA. As long as it's installed on your device, it works on Android, macOS, and Windows. For Android, you just long press on your app icon. For macOS and Windows, you right click on the taskbar or the dock. This allow the user to have to access to common or frequently used tasks within your app. For example, if you use Twitter PWA, if you long press on it, it can use the option there to compose a new tweet, go to the notification tab directly from the app shortcut. And this is how you implement it. So if you have PWA, then you already know how to use the web app manifest. What you need to do is just to add the shortcuts, put the name, put the URL. That's all you need to do. the icons, the short name, and description is actually all optional, but it's good to have to put the icons there so you can have a customized experience. Next thing is called wake log API. So what is wake log API and why you should use it? So, right now we are like in the middle of pandemic. This is what those people say, right? We're in the pandemic, but right now there's no lockdown, so you don't need to cook anymore. But I guess a lot of people are now is very expert in cooking, but most of the time actually you're just looking at the cooking recipe on your phone. But here's the problem: you're cooking and your hand is very dirty, and you see your phone, the screen is starting to turn off. What you need to do, you need to touch the screen, but it makes your phone very dirty. What should you do? So in Chrome 84, there's a new API called wake log API. So you can use this API as shown on the screen to tell the device to stay the screen always on. The screen will never turn off if you call this. And what you need to do is just call the navigator.wakelog.request screen. And to deactivate the screen log or the wake log, what you need to do is just call the wakelog.release. Useful. Next, let's talk about notification. I know it's stupidly annoying, this thing. I hate, like, if you go to some Malaysian news website, you know which website I'm talking about. You go to the website, it straight away ask you, I want notification. But of course you say no, you don't want those notifications. With Chrome 84, they're going to change how the browser going to prompt you for the notification. So in this case, what the Chrome will do is, if a lot of users block the notification for that website, for other user, Chrome will say, no, a lot of people block this, I will block it for you. Or another case is if you block all the notification on your browser, so the Chrome knows you don't use notification. So if any new website asking for notification, they will automatically block for you. But of course, you can re-enable it from the Omnibox or the notification on the bottom of the screen. With the release of Chrome 84, there's a big thing you need to know is something called same-site cookies policy. So you may saw this on the big news like The Verge and the Police, they all talk about this thing, but what is same-site cookies policy actually? So if you go to Chrome browser today, open a new tab, then you see a lot of error. What is this? You can see they're asking for like without the same site attribute. So what this thing do is, if you want to use your cookies on other domain, then you must set the value of same site equal to lax or secure or none. So together with the secure value, if you didn't set anything, then it will treat it as same site equal to lax. It's a default behavior on Chrome 84. Again, if you use cookies, make sure you set this properly. You can learn this on web.dev. I'll share the link about same-site cookies policy at the end of the slide. So that's all the new thing coming to Chrome 84. Next thing, I want to talk about PWA and web capabilities. So PWA is a big thing, and you all use a lot, hopefully. And there's something called web capabilities, which is the new thing, the new experimental feature coming to the web. Those are the features that basically want to do what native app can do. First, with the context indexing API, which is a new thing coming to Chrome 84. I don't really like it, so I'll just skip it. You can Google search, but to be honest, it's not very useful. Let's begin with badging API. This is, I guess, it's very, very useful. So what you can do with badging API is just show on the screen the red dot, or on the Android phone, I think it's a blue dot, or depends on the app color. You can use it to get user attention without sending them the notification. It works on the latest version of Chrome on all operating systems. It works on macOS, Windows, Android. Of course, it doesn't work on iOS. The next thing is web OTP. On detail about this thing, I think you'll have to talk about this later, but I just briefly explain what is this. So web SMS login is very popular right now, but the user experience is not very good. Like, you request for OTP, the user need to go back to the message app, copy the OTP, remember it, and type it manually. But with the web OTP API, this flow can be done automatically. So for as you can see on the screen, the flow is just like that. The user don't need to type anything. What the user need to do is grant the permission for the website to read your SMS. This is the browser only read it for one time, so it's still safe. But for the browser to read which SMS, what you need to do is you need to set a spatial formatting in your SMS content. In this case, you just need to put your URL host name and again the OTP code. You can find more information on web.dev. The next thing is native file system API. If you're building a web app, like maybe if you're building Photoshop, bring it to the web, for example. There's one problem: the file saving flow on the web is weird. On native app, if you save, it will save directly to your hard disk or your SSD. But for the web, it's actually kind of different. If you press save, most of the time it just download the file. It's not really overwrite or save. But with the native file system API, what you can do is you can do exactly what the native app can do. You grant the permission for one time. After that, the browser will have direct read and write permission to your file. So if you're building web app with this kind of requirement, then congrats, now we can use it. The next thing is notification triggers. Although notification is annoying, but sometimes notification still can be useful. Let's say you are building a reminder app. So you want to remind your washing machine will be complete in 50 minutes. But how can you schedule your notification? To do that, you need to have server and to have the notification trigger 50 minutes later from your server, which is not a good thing. But right now with notification triggers, you can do that directly on the browser. No server required. So you can set a timestamp when you want to trigger, and the browser will trigger your notification based on your timestamp automatically. And you have access to from the DevTools, you can access and look at all the information when the notification is scheduled or is already shown or is cancelled. You can do it with the new API called the notification triggers. So those are all the things coming to Web Fugu. You can keep track of all the Fugu API on this URL. There's a very long spreadsheet, but what you need to do is look at the first part, the ship and the origin trail. Those are coming to your browser very, very soon. So that is web capabilities and PWA. Next, let's talk about JavaScript and V8. Yes, my favorite. So what's new in JavaScript and V8? For those using WebAssembly, good news. Right now you have more memory support. Previously only can use up to 2 GB of RAM, but right now 4 GB. So you can do more advanced stuff with WebAssembly. But the next thing, the interesting thing I want to talk is called big integer. So in this case, you can see on the screen that I have an example. So all here are in normal integer. So I can call the number dot max safe integer. So you can see the number is end with 991. If I use this number plus 1 equal to 992, correct? If I use it and plus 2, it becomes 992. It should be 993, right? It's because it reached its maximum limit already. Integer can't do that anymore. So what you need to do is you need to use big int. So big integer obviously is the maximum limit is bigger than normal integer. So what you need to do is you can declare as the big int, then you put a number inside or just append an n behind. So in this case, you can see 991n plus 1n is equal to 992n plus 2n is equal to 993n, which is the correct answer. So if your web app requires this kind of big number, then yes, you can use big int. It's now here on ES 2020. Next thing, if you use TypeScript, I think you should get it on last year September. Optional chaining is super useful. As you can see on the screen, if you use the transitional method, you need to use a lot of n, like db and db.user n, db.user.name. Then you only can get a dot length. If it doesn't do that, if one of the let's say the user is undefined, you crash your whole code. But with optional chaining, what you can do is db ?user?.name ?.length. Let's say the user is undefined, it won't crash. It will return name length will equal to undefined. But then it will be a problem. So in this case, you can see we've used optional chaining and default value. So the user is signed up, so it can be true, false, or undefined. But what we want to do is, let's say the side up is undefined, we want to fall back. We want to set a default value. So in this case, the side up, if it's undefined, then it will become true. But here's the problem. We are using or. But what if side up is equal to false? False or true is equal to true, which is, what we want is false. The answer right now is totally wrong. So what we can fix is something called knowledge coalescing. Instead of using or, what you need to do is use the double question mark symbol, side up. So instead of using the or, what you need to do is use two question mark and it will solve the issue for you. The knowledge coalescing only detect for null and undefined. So if your answer is false, it will still use the false value. Next thing is JS timer throttling in background. Is actually a good news for those using mobile devices. This thing is tested on running on MacBook. So you can see this is something developer don't need to do, is on the browser side. So you can see on the test A, so it's running a blank tab plus 36 background tab with running like CNN, Facebook, Slack, Twitter, Gmail, all the heavy web app you're using. And what they see is they improve the battery life. This is the battery life, like about 2 hours on the same browser, on the same Google Chrome. Of course, Safari still have the best battery life, right? So in this case, you can see like the Safari gets 9.3 hours, but previously on Chrome before the changes is 6.4 hours. After they changed it, they throttled to 1 wake up per minute, and right now it's 8.2 hours. And they changed it for YouTube playing also, another example. So the YouTube playing, they see from 7.4 hours battery life to 5.3 hours. So a good news for all the users. Chrome right now use less battery life, but it's still in experiment, so you can enable in the Chrome Flex to do that. Okay, so that is JavaScript and V8. Almost finished. Let's talk about CSS. So yes, there are new stuff coming to CSS. Let's begin with the first one, place items. So how to align the object to center middle. So either you use flex, so align center, justify content center, or you can use another method, which is the translate. You can use the translate -50, -50, then set the top value, left value, and set the position to absolute, and make sure your parent is relative. No, I don't like this method. Is there any better method? Yes, you can use CSS grid and place item center. 2 line of code is equal to all the thing I showed you previously. So with the CSS grid place items center, you can align your item to center middle with 2 lines of code. Yes. Aspect ratio. If you want to set, let's say, iframe or image, and you want to set aspect ratio to like 16:9, usually what you need to do is you use the padding top and set the percentage to like maybe like 56.23%. Or most of the time, you just copy paste from Stack Overflow. This method is not really good because it's not very easy to do it. But there's a new CSS attribute coming called aspect ratio. What you need to do to have a div that has the aspect ratio 16:9, just put aspect ratio 16/9. That's it. It's coming. It's now available on Chrome, but not on other browser. Other browser are coming soon. But to fall back, unfortunately, it's still better to use the padding top method. But in the future, you can just put aspect ratio and everything will work. Let's talk about get. Hey, get. I miss shopping. Okay, if you want to have gap between your div like this, what you should do? Margin right and margin bottom. But that's not really good. It's not fun. But with this, what you can do is a new attribute called flex gap. So this is applied for flex box. So what you need to do is set the display to flex, and what you need to do is just call gap equal to 8%, 8px, 9px, 10px, and you can have something like this, just one line of code. Yes, easy. The next thing is the scrolling animation. So if you visit like Google Store website, the Apple website, you know they use a lot of the scrolling animation. If you scroll down the page, then maybe the phone will pop out. But it's based on your scroll position. But what they did is they used a lot of JavaScript library, which is, to be honest, the performance is not very good. So with a new upcoming API called the scrolling animation, it's still a new thing. It's still in under spec, it's still proposal. But you can test it in Chrome with the Flex enable. What I need to do is it apply on JavaScript and CSS. So in this case, you can see the needle, the clock is based on the scroll position. And what I need to do is just animate, transform, and set the scroll timeline. So you don't need to import any third-party library. And of course, there's a polyfill for that to use it. So you can use it. And for those, if you're using Chrome, then it won't load the polyfill. So you can get a better performance than existing scrolling library. And again, with the same scrolling animation, you not only can do the animation I showed you just now, and what you can do is you can use it to do parallax effect. So as the screen I show on the, okay, back. Okay, as the screen, the code I showed you right now, this one is parallax effect. You can do scroll parallax effect just using CSS attribute, no extra library required. And this is coming to scrolling animation. You can try it out. I'll share the link at the end of the presentation. So you can try out. This is very cool, no library required. So the next thing is CSS grid tooling. So if you use CSS grid, congrats, you're doing my favorite thing on the web. CSS grid allow you to basically do a lot of grid stuff on the, to do the layout stuff on your website super easy. It's even better than Flexbox. But the problem on the DevTools is the CSS grid DevTools support is not very good. You can try this, the new CSS grid tooling on Chrome Canary right now as today. It's available, and it's basically is the feature you get on DevTools is very similar to Firefox right now. The Firefox DevTools, of course, it still have the best CSS grid tool available in the market right now, but Chrome is finally catching up. All right, let's talk about the last stuff. My browser is very slow right now. Guess what browser I'm using right now? Why it's so slow? I'm using Safari. Safari is very slow. What happened? Okay, last thing, tooling. Let's talk about Chrome DevTools. So there are a lot of features coming to Chrome DevTools right now. Those features are available in Canary, and some of the features are in stable right now. First, let's begin with issues. So as I showed you just now, the same site cookies issue, which is very annoying. And remember the screenshot I showed you just now, right? On the new tab, there are a lot of same issue. But with the new Chrome DevTools, they move all those stuff to a new tab called Issues tab. So they move to one place and group it together and show you all the useful information that you need. In this case, the same site cookies, they teach you what should you do. And they give you the link to web.dev and teach you how you can fix it. So good. Next thing is WebAssembly debugging. So if you use WebAssembly right now, you can basically debug your your C++ code or your C# code or C or what language, Python code directly in the DevTools. So you not only can use DevTools to debug JavaScript, and now you can use it to debug any language that you use with WebAssembly, in this case, C++. And next thing coming new to DevTools is this, blur. So it's something called color vision deficiency emulation. So for those, the eyesight is not very good. For those people who have color blind, they can't see well. So DevTools provided a new feature to simulate how it will look like, just like this. This is what happens if I see my phone without wearing my glasses. So it's something called color vision deficiency emulation that allow you to emulate all type of color blind and blur vision. Use the blur vision, I don't think it's very useful, because for me, what I need to do is just like this. Then I get blur vision. I get actual emulation. But the very useful is for the color blind, so you can simulate like those people cannot see green or blue or red color well. So use it to simulate what your website looks like for those conditions. Next, if you use the source, the breakpoint, there's a new design available in Canary. Yeah, it's in Canary. So you can have this kind of the icon and the color. So it looks better and let you easier to find where is your breakpoint and the load point. It's new in DevTools. And the next thing is you can capture screenshot on DevTools. I hope you know about this feature. So from the command menu, the command shift P, what I can do is you can capture full page screenshot, you can capture node screenshot, you can capture area screenshot or just a normal screenshot. But in the upcoming Chrome Canary, on the Chrome DevTools, what I can do is on the element panels, right click on your DOM, and you can select capture node screenshot. Useful. And fun thing is this feature is added by a Malaysian, former GDE called Jesslyn In, maybe you know her. Yeah, it's built by Malaysian. Yes, Malaysia boleh. Okay, last thing, let's talk about Lighthouse 6.0. So Lighthouse is finally here. Lighthouse 6.0 is finally here. And what they changed is, they changed a lot of stuff. They changed how they calculate the metric. So in this case, the primary metric to get the performance score on your Lighthouse is based on the first contentful pane, speed index, LCP, TTI, TBT, and CLS. But the weight of the score is as shown on the screen. But can you test it manually? Yes, you can use it, the Lighthouse scoring calculator, and use this and test it. If you added 1 second to your FCP, what will happen and how it will affect your score. You can use it to try it with the Lighthouse 6.0. It also works for Lighthouse version 5.0, but there's an option for you to choose between 5.0 and 6.0. To be honest, the score for 6.0 you should see a little bit lower, but technically it's more accurate result. You should check it out on the link on the screen. And there are new stuff, new audits coming to Lighthouse 6.0. Again, Lighthouse 6.0 is here available on Chrome DevTools today. So yes, there are a lot of stuff. The metric it calculates like unused JavaScript, a lot of accessibility stuff, and it supports massable icon. Useful for all of you. Okay, and one last thing is the Lighthouse CI. So if you use CI, and I guess you're using CI right now, what you can do is you can integrate Lighthouse to your build tool. So like when you're building the code, you can run the Lighthouse test to know the score. And for Lighthouse CI, it's actually a little bit special. They have basically a different looks of the dashboard and provide the information what you need to do. And everything is done directly in your CI. So you don't need to run the test manually. And you let you to compare the before build and after build, the difference, the performance difference. The last thing I want to talk about is tooling.report. So it let you to choose the best build tool for your project. What is build tool? So we use a lot of build tools like we use, let me show you this. You use Webpack, you use Parcel, you use Rollup, but which one is the best? Which one you should use? So with the new tooling.report, then it show you everything you need to know, like which build tool is the best fit for you. So it show you like the test, which one it passed, so you can know like which one is the best one to use. And it releases all the feature like code splitting, hashing, all the feature that you need. So it's somehow it become like the better of the test. So it let you to decide which build tool is the best, like directly in the dashboard. So what I need to do is you go to tooling.report, then you can see all the information. And when you hover on those information, they will give you more advanced information. And is this test pass or fail, and give you more information. And those information are actually linked to GitHub. So we can see how the test code and the result directly from the website. And it's linked to GitHub, so you can see the source code of how they write the test. Yeah, the test look like this. Is quite a lot of tests, but you can use it as a source of documentation. This is how you use those tools. All right, so that's all the stuff I covered today: browsers, PWA, web capabilities, JavaScript, V8, V8, CSS, and toolings. However, there are more stuff that I didn't cover today, like web writers, Puppeteer, TWA, the PSI, SEO, search engine security, privacy, Chrome UX report, and more. Those I don't have enough time to cover, but you can find all the stuff useful on web.dev/live. And again, thanks for our handsome organizer, Eric, for organizing this event. And also special thanks to DevSpace Singapore for hosting this YouTube channel. Okay, so Q&A. If you have any question, you can ask me right now. I will answer your question. And follow me on Twitter, HenryLim96.
Thanks, Henry. I appreciate that. Not really, but so should we wait for a little bit for the questions, if there's any? Maybe
Yes,
like a minute.
Is there any question? Let me scroll up. Is there any question? We want web notification on iOS Safari. Then for this, you need to ask Team Apple. No, they say no. They won't do that. They ask you to install native app. Yes, although I love Google, but I use iPhone. But yes, it's very annoying to see web notification doesn't work on iPhone. There's nothing we can do. What we can do is we just annoy Apple every day. Ask Apple, where's notification? Notification. This is the best we can do. Is there any question?
Usually people are more shy when there's an in-person event.
But this one is online event. You don't. People can't see you. Just type the question.
Yeah, don't be shy.
But it's fine if you can't find any question. I will still on the live chat. You can just ask it, or you can tag me on Twitter if you use Twitter.
Yeah, I think Harry would really like people to talk to him on Twitter, right?
Yes, I use Twitter a lot. Yeah, that's why I don't have girlfriend.
Okay.
Okay, what?
Seems like there's not a lot of questions.
No question, right?
No?
Question is
not.
good question for me.
Okay, I guess if there's no questions, we can move on.
Yes, so thanks for joining. So I'll pass it back to Eric.
Oh, wait. There's one more.
For app shortcut, where do you put the JSON file? Oh, it's in the web app manifest. So it's in your manifest.json. So just put it as how you put the app icon, the app name, the background, the theme color. So it's just like that in the JSON file. Maybe off topic, but do you think web will be automated? What do you mean by the test automated or the?
I think he's talking about the new the machine learning thing, right?
GPT-3, right?
Yeah.
Of course, I say no. I don't want to lose my job. Yes, it's a totally biased answer, but I'm saying no. But I don't know.
I feel like it will just make like you can deal with more tedious stuff in the future, because most of the things they do is like more tedious, right? It's like,
yes, like as we can see, a lot of like machine robot today, they only can do one thing very good. But if they want the robot to do general stuff, it's not very good. But for human, we can do everything, right? The same developer also made good at maybe for the robot, it's a bit like Lighthouse. They can audit for that, but to build a very good high quality, it still need human. But maybe this statement will be forced in the maybe next 10 years. No one will know. You need to ask Elon Musk. Okay.
Right. Okay. Let's see.
Any question?
Talking about Elon Musk, right? Didn't he like send the SpaceX things? They were using Kubernetes and stuff like that.
Oh yes. Speaking of SpaceX, for those if you use web component, if you're aware of web components, and yes, last month or 2 months ago, SpaceX launched a rocket with the astronaut to ISS, right? The screen in front of the astronaut is built using web components. It's running Chromium with web components, like the code you write every day. It's like what they can
build in space
and send to space. It's a rocket science.
Now we can say that programming is rocket science, right?
It's like
web programming.
So technically, I have the ability to build a spaceship. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, you can keep looking, right?
Okay, all right. Think
There's
that's
a yep. There's one from Arvin. If you want to answer.
okay. It's necessary to learn Bootstrap. Mm, up to you. It's your own freedom, right? You learn all the stuff. Like if you ask me which framework you should use, up to you. Which one you think is the best, use it. If you think Bootstrap is good, use it. If you think other stuff is good, then use it, learn it. Because why not? All right.
Okay, I think that's it. We can introduce Johan.
Yes.
Hello,
Bye-bye.
Johan.
Thanks for joining. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, so I'm just gonna put his face up for a little bit longer because he put mine up. Anyways, so the next one will be Johan, right? Hi, Johan.
Hi.
With best practices in e-commerce and identity and payment. Actually, Johan, I think the shirt you're wearing, right? We have the same shirt.
Oh yeah, true. You should wear it.
Such a nice shirt. Okay, right. So so as usual, if you have any questions, it would be really nice if you can put them up earlier so that we can go through it at the end and have a bit more time to think about the answers, right? Johan, so you ready?
Yeah, ready.
Okay.
Cool. Thank you, Eric, for the time and invited me here to join with GDG Kuala Lumpur, and also thank you for Google Developer Space to giving us also a platform to share these things with other developer out there. So I'd like to introduce first about myself. So my name is Johan Toting. I'm from Indonesia. I've been in KL a couple of times. I don't remember how many times already. But yeah, it's been a long, I think, like 2 years ago, the last time I was there. You can find me in Twitter with T Johan. And I'm a web developer advocate, part of the web developer team in Google. And today I like to share the things with you about e-commerce best practices, but I will be focused more around the identity and payment, just like Eric mentioned. So what is this about? So we're gonna talk more about the best practices, especially on the front end side. So we're not gonna talk about the whole identity and payment process. So this is just like a tips and trick how we can handle the user journey and the flow in e-commerce, especially focus on those two. Because I think it's very important. If we think about build e-commerce, I think we need to taking care of the user experience on the web. So we're not covering about security or maybe the backend services or like identity management and this kind of stuff. We've called focusing on the front end side, basically as a web developer, what you can do to build a good user experience for your users. Focus on sign in, sign up, and also in the checkout process. So let's start. So if you not familiar with the e-commerce, so this is how the general e-commerce funnel. Usually this is we call also like a user journey. So it's like step by step how a user come into e-commerce website and then do a transaction. What kind of steps they are taking to finish the transaction until they pay the product. So as you see there, the first step, the first 3 steps, it's more about convincing the users to buy the product. So maybe the user who come to the e-commerce website, they not really think to buy something. They just like, maybe they find like an ad on Instagram or social media, and then they just click that one, and then they landed on this e-commerce website. So in these 3 phase, these 3 steps, we're not gonna cover about that part, but we're gonna cover more on the last 2, because the last 2, it's super important, because this is mean someone already got convinced that they want to buy the product on this e-commerce website, and we want to make sure they not get away because got distracted or the experience is not that good and they basically doesn't able to complete the transaction. So that's we're gonna cover basically on that area. So take a look on the sign-in, sign-up process. If you see the funnel here, it's happening before the checkout process. And from our perspective as a user experience tips, make sure you don't put any friction or obstacle for the user to let the user get the value directly. In this case, talking about e-commerce, user want to do transaction. If you ask them another steps before they want to do the transaction, it's another friction. So the questions here, should we really ask about this thing? So before they able to do the transaction, before they able to check out on our website, should we really need to ask them about this thing to sign in and sign up? So usually the e-commerce website, they ask the user to sign in just to make sure they can reuse the data from that user to finish transaction faster. Because if the user previously did a transaction in that website, usually they already have recorded like a shipping address and contact and those kind of stuff, and maybe also including the payment info. So the e-commerce basically asks to sign in just because they want to finish the help the user finish the transaction faster. But what if the user basically knew one? Should we ask them to sign up first? So I think you should consider to allow them not to sign up, because this is the thing. You ask user to sign up, it means you probably ask them to share their private data, like their email or their phone number or whatever identity you are using to sign up with them. And I'm not sure in Malaysia, but in Indonesia, a lot of scam happens. Someone did some kind of like a social engineering stuff. They call basically they try to sign in with your account, and then they basically call you and then pretend like I'm from the operator of the telco or operator of the app, and they pretend like they need you to do something, and please send us the token that we just handled. And for someone that doesn't know about how important the OTP or token, they usually just give away the token that they just received on their phone. And because these things, a lot of people lost their account, or they lost also the money. So now in Indonesia, a lot of people start to think if something like a get request to provide their identity, it's something that some people think this is really hard request. So probably they doesn't want to share that, and that means if you force them to sign up, it could mean they think this is a friction and they don't want to continue the transaction. So this is the ideal thing that what thinking. So basically, we need to let the user check out with the guest account. So we don't need to ask them for sign up in the beginning. We can offer them to sign in, but only if they already did the transaction with us before. But if not, please allow them to do the transaction even without sign up an account. So basically, they just check out with the process. And then later, after they finish the transaction, then you can ask them to sign up. So you can ask them like something, hey, we just finished your transaction. If you want to have a faster transaction in the future, would you like to create an account with us? If yes, please just create the password here. That's it. So don't force them to sign up. Only offer them after they finish what the thing that they are looking for, which is do a transaction, buy the product. Because then you will able to have them faster with less friction. And then if you able to request them to sign up on your app, what the best way for them to be signed up? What kind of method you can use to ask them to sign up? So there are several methods these days that we're gonna cover. So the first one I want to share, I think this is quite common these days. We call it something like a magic link. So basically, you will ask to get input your email or your phone number, and then the website will be send you a link that you can click to sign in, to sign up. Sorry. But then this thing sometimes is not really good because you need to open another app. Means in mobile, you need to switch screen from the website into the email app or your SMS app to find the link. And that means there's a possibility that someone get distracted when they get into their email account and they find out there's another important email. They will like taking care of that one instead like continue to sign up on your website. So consider these things. It's easy, but there's a potential to get distracted whenever they switch screen. Another one, federated identity. Basically, this is usually we call also like a sign in, sign up, single sign on. So people use their social account or other account, and then basically authorize that account to connect with your website. But there's some issues also about this. If you get into the website from a social media app, it means sometimes you get the website with the in-app browser. Try this. Go to the website from a link that you find on the Twitter, for example. You will end up inside the in-app browser. And usually in iOS, the in-app browser is not sharing the session with the browser that you already have. That means even you are signed in that browser, in your phone browser, the in-app browser still think that you're not signed in into your account. So means you still need to sign in first with your social media account before able to authorize the account to that website. That means you add another friction. Another one, some people also browse the things using the private window. So means all those accounts basically is not signed up. So that means whenever you sign in them with this kind of account, they need to sign in again first with this sign up with the social media account before they're able to authorize and connect their account to your website. So please consider also this thing is still considered as not the best way to sign in people. Another one, I really like this one. I think this is one of a very popular way to sign up people in Indonesia because not everyone familiar with email, but everyone, of course, they have a phone number whenever they access into the internet. So with this one, in iOS especially, you can just easily choose that number that will appear on top of your keyboard whenever someone sends you the OTP code. Means you don't need to switch screen because you just need to like tap that one and then boom, you got the token basically input already into the token field. And the good thing in Android, you can automatically inject the SMS code into the input field whenever someone sends you the token. And I think I consider this is supposed to be like an OTP token supposed to be automatic. Because if you allow users to input a token manually, that means the token could be not exist in the user phone. Sometimes the user, maybe they got social engineering stuff, they call the users, and then they pretend as that user input the token manually into that account. So if you consider a better security for this web OTP, never allow the OTP to be input manually. Only allow if that happen with this web OTP and then fill the input field automatic. And then if you want to able provide the basic input sign up process, I think this is we can consider as the most fundamental way to ask user sign up to your website. But then if we're talking about this kind of thing, it means we need to ask the user to fill the form. So that's why we're gonna talk more about form best practices. So let's start from this one. So my colleagues in Google, when they the name is Sam. So when he tried to deliver about sign in, sign up best practices for web.dev live, he asked to the Chrome identity team what he need to talk about. And then the Chrome identity team basically mentioned that you need to be provide and make the basic thing right. And if we're talking about sign up and sign in process, so basically this is the easiest one. Let's talk about form. And the basic form could be involve these four elements: form, input, label, and button. So let's see if we have this kind of form. Maybe you tempted to able do something more fancy than this, like you use div and then use the JavaScript to create your form. But this is could be an issue, especially from accessibility perspective. Sometimes the fancy form it's not able to read by the screen reader, especially if you have user with visual disability. So maybe they like have a color plane and stuff, so they're not able to, or maybe like completely blind, so maybe they're not able to see the form, so they need a tool like a screen reader to access the form. So this is one of the tip if we're talking about the basic practice for the form. So let's start with the input level. So usually if we see the form, this form is very simple. It's very good and very easy to understand. But that if you think we as a normal person and you as a developer understand like this is supposed to be filled with first name, last name, and stuff. But imagine if you build this form with English, and I think this is very common in Indonesia. Developer built their website with English language, but then they basically targeting Indonesian users. And Indonesian users not understand all English. So usually, if we get this kind of form, you will right-click on your desktop and then try to translate this thing. But the issue, if you use this kind of form, means you are using the placeholder as a label to let the user know what kind of data or value you need to input into that field. And the placeholder is an attribute. And by default, the browser translator, like a Google Translate, won't able to translate the attribute. Means even the title at the top, like a sign up, and it's free and always be, will be translated into Bahasa Indonesia, but the whole label inside the form won't be translated because it's attribute. Means it won't be translated. So translator only translate the text inside the element, not the attribute itself. Also, if you use placeholder as a way to let the user understand the format, this could be an issue because if you require some kind of like a format for the data, like for example the birthday, if user already input some characters, the placeholder already go. Means if they forgot what kind of a format they need to input there, they need to remove all the characters before able to see what the format they need to input. So consider to have a format not only with the placeholder, but also together with the text, like beside your label. So even they input the text already, they're still able to understand the format. So this is basically the simple way to have the input and the label. So you just need to have a label and put the for attribute linked to the ID of the input. So if you put for email, then input ID basically will be the email. And this will be helpful, especially on mobile, because if you tap the label, the focus will be moved inside the input field with the same ID on that label. And also, whenever the focus get into the input field, the screen reader tool will use that one and announce that this input is email based on the label. So everyone, including the user who access your form using the screen reader, is able to understand what kind of data they need to input into that field. And sometimes we also, whenever we build a long form like this, like imagine you build like a checkout form with several input fields, you might consider, should I put side by side or should I put top and bottom? Based on our research, the users basically able to scan faster if you put the label and input vertically. So label at the top and then input at the bottom. And also it will be more consistent to have this kind of form either on screen, desktop, and also in mobile. Because usually if you have like a side-by-side input label, you will have more space to put it horizontally. Means in the mobile, maybe it will be not enough space for the screen. So having like a vertical layout will be easier because you will have a consistent layout on both screen, phone screen and also the desktop screen. And don't repeat input. I think sometimes we ask the user to input the email twice because we want to verify the user and make sure they input the email correctly. But these days, the browsers already have tons of features. For example, autocomplete. So if they enable the autocomplete, it's not necessary to ask them input twice for the same data. So if you want to verify the email, better use to send an email for verification and ask them to click the link. That's better way instead like put two input fields for the same email to just to verify it's a correct one or not. And if you build some kind of like a button, please use a button element. Some users, developers, sometimes they build the button using a div element, so they can able to style and then provide some kind of like a fancy stuff for that button. But please remember, button element and div element, they have a different event. So button have a native event. Whenever you click or interact with the button will trigger a JavaScript event that able to integrate or interact with other elements, for example, with the form. But if you are using div and then trigger the event manually, it could be break some interaction with the other elements because div element doesn't have a basic native events. On whenever you click that thing, there's a like a key press or key down and key up. Those kind of stuff doesn't exist in the div element because they're not button. Also consider to have a right size because if you use desktop, means people will interact with your website using the cursor. And cursor, of course, you can precisely click in whatever point you like. But if you use the website inside your mobile screen, you probably will use either your finger or your thumb or whatever. And the size basically will be bigger compared with your cursor. So in Android, you need to provide minimum 7 to 10 millimeter. Apple also recommend to have 48 pixel square for the minimum button size. And WWC also recommend to have 44 square CSS pixel. CSS pixel here means some screens, maybe they have a higher density pixel. So it could be like a 1 pixel in higher density pixel, could be means 2 or 4 real pixels. So please consider also to see about the density screen. And also please put padding because padding will give some extra space to the bottom. And then for the button, able to interact easily with your finger on mobile screen especially. And this is something that I really hate whenever I input the form in mobile if the website not provide the right keyboard. So imagine something like this. If the website asks you to sign up and then input your credit card number, for example, and they provide you an alphanumeric keyboard with like a small button for the numeric button at the top. And we think it will be easier if we just have like a numeric keyboard and then easily tap the number, right? And also if you ask them to input the email and then you use the input mode attribute as an email, in the iOS, they will provide you autocomplete for the email that you already have before. So means user doesn't need to input manually the whole email. So please use these things, provide the right keyboard, especially in mobile, by utilizing the input mode attribute in the input field. And this is also you need to consider on mobile. Sometimes we as a developer, we just test our website using the, like a DevTools. So you just set your website in the mobile view, but you not consider that the keyboard basically able to overlay on top of your screen and then hiding the button or elements on your website. For example, a simple like this. So we might think this is okay, this is good. On my phone, it works okay. I can see the whole elements, including the button. But imagine if a user with a smaller screen access your website like this. So for example, if you are a developer with iPhone 11, you're able to see the whole elements, the whole form inside your screen. But then someone who use iPhone 7 and 8 could be also access your website, and they will confused because they don't see any button to submit the form over there because you hide it. So Amazon come with this way. So Amazon consider that all the user might access the website with a smaller screen. So they better ask the user to input the form just one by one. Is it like two input field in the same display? So with this one, they easily guarantee the button will be always visible in all screens, even it's smaller. And sometimes these days, people sign up to a lot of websites and then thinking about a new password sometimes is a really hard part whenever you try to create an account. So if you use the autocomplete new password, this will be very helpful for the user, especially if they already use the password manager. Because if they use the password manager, means they will create a unique password for each website. And then you can help them by just generate the password for them like this. Just use the autocomplete attribute and new password, and then the user will get suggestion from Chrome or other browser as well to create the password with the random unique string. So it will be a strong password just with the autocomplete new password. And also, whenever the user trying to input with their personal data, help the user to avoid re-entering the data, be the same data that you input in other e-commerce website. So the data basically the same. We are living in one single address. Doesn't mean you sign up in one website, you will input the different shipping address. Most of the people stay in the single address and use the single address for shipping. So if you use the autocomplete like this, means the data that they already input before will be used and then just autofill the whole form with the data that already stored inside the browser. So it will be faster to input. And also with this autocomplete username, if you enable the sign in autocomplete on the form, it will be easier because the user just need to submit the form. It will automatically fill the sign-in form with your account and also with the password. If the password already stored the data with the credential manager inside the browser. And if you ask the user to sign in, remember the autocomplete is supposed to be the current password. Because if you still use the new password like before, means it could be suggest a new password. But remember, sign in, it doesn't mean we want to create a password, right? We want to user to sign in with the previous one that they already have. And this is something the user or developer forgot about this. a lot of users these days using the password manager, and they feel they want to provide like very secure page, and sometimes this kind of thing trying to like provide a more secure form actually break a way for the password manager fill the form. I'll show you later. I did the survey in my Twitter. I don't know if the audience who voted into this survey only Indonesian or outside Indonesia as well. But from 1,000 voters, I got almost half of them already use the password manager. So this means it's super important to make sure the password manager always work whenever we need to sign in into a form that we built. This is one thing that a developer trying to fix a form. So there's an incident for Starbucks Indonesia before a couple years ago. So someone able to get into the website using other people account because basically the form is not use the HTTPS and someone using Wi-Fi able to intercept the account. So they think something that we can do is disable the copy and paste. And imagine if you are using the password manager and the password manager cannot autofill the input field of the sign-in form. And we as the user, probably we will do a copy and paste from our password manager to that form. But then you're not allowed to paste. That means you only allowed to read the strong password with combination of characters, alphanumerics, and you need to type it manually into the sign-in form. So, and that's really, really hard thing to do for the user because it's a random characters and it will be hard without the copy and paste things. So please don't do this. Don't disable the copy paste on the browser because that will be make the password manager user will be hard to input the password into their account. And also please help save user from missing inputs. Sometimes if we submit the form and then the form basically didn't submit it because maybe the network issue and other stuff, if you use the autocomplete, then the form basically will remember the data that you input before. So the data will not gone. So you're still able to have that data inside the form, even you're not able to success submit the form. So consider this kind of things as well. And make sure you provide user a way to see if there is something wrong with the input they have, especially if you hide the input, like for example, the OTP token or maybe the password as well. So provide a way for the user to see what the input they have is a good practice. For example, in this password in Google, you have a button to click that button and then you will see what the input you typed before. But be careful around this because if you see or if you use the LastPass, sometimes the LastPass button will be overlay on top of this button. And it won't be allow you to click the show password button because it means you click the LastPass button. So please consider test with the LastPass password if you are trying to do something like this. And it's very easy actually how to show the inputs value just using the JavaScript like this. You only need to change the type attribute of the password input field from password to text. And then if you want to hide it, just toggle it and then switch over back to the password type. And also, please tell the user as early as possible if there's a constraint around the input. So for example, for the password, you want to have the minimum this line and then need to be like a combination of numbers and symbols. So let them know at the beginning. Don't tell them after they submit the form or they input the form. Because then imagine they are thinking really hard about, oh, this is my password, and then they input and type it, and then when they press the button, and then you tell them, oh, your password is invalid, it's not allow our format, you're supposed to input like this. And this is really not best practice, right? Maybe you as a user will be blamed and then just get away from there. So one of invalid input value as early as possible, and very easy if you wanna do this, just using the HTML input field. So if you wanna validate the input field, if you wanna require some, for example, oh, it's supposed to be numeric, or it's supposed to be like in email format. So you can use these attributes just to let the user know that you require like some kind of like a format to input as a value. And if this attribute used for the input, you can let the user know that their input is invalid by using the CSS like this. You don't even need to use JavaScript to check the value and compare with the pattern. You can use just the HTML attribute like that before, and then just use this one, and then you will have something like this. So the form will be highlighted with a red color border, and then also there is some kind of like a tooltip that let you know that the format is not valid. So, but then please let the user what the right format. If you only let them know like this, they're not really sure like what kind of a format that required for the password. And then we can also suggest them to faster sign in with re-authentication. So imagine like something like this. So when the user, you ask them to sign up with create a password, or you send them a magic link to their email, and then they sign up already in your website, but then you want to ask them like, hey, do you want to easily sign in faster without need do the same thing like before? You can enable something like this. So there's an API called web.authn, or we basically it's a web authentication. So if you talking about identity management, this is how you can secure an account. So to secure an account, there are three things that you can provide or you can ask from the users. So usually the user will have what they know, or usually this is a password, and they have their phone, the one that they are using to sign into your website, and also they have themselves, you know, like their face, their fingerprint, and this is what we call as a biometric. So you can use to sign up, you ask them to create the password, but to able authenticate them faster, you can ask them to use their phone and also combination with the biometric. Because as you know, if you register your finger or your face with your phone, means your data are registered on that device. And you can ask the device just to verify that you are the same person with the one that signed up before. And this will be easier because then the user doesn't need to think like send the link to my account again to authenticate myself. They just need to verify using the fingerprint or their face unlock. And also, please consider these things. If you build e-commerce website, never ask or store the payment data without two-factor authentication, because you know payment is very sensitive, and there's a really big risk if you not protect user with two-factor authentication. Two-factor authentication, basically you need to ask them sign in twice with two things they have. So if you ask the user sign in with their password, there's a potential that the user or the get stolen their phone, or maybe their password basically leak somewhere. But then you can verify if the user basically the same person by sending the OTP, for example, to their phone. Because using two-layer protection like this, it will be more secure compared with only with the password protection. So with this, it will be harder for the thief or other people who want to steal away their account, or maybe use the payment info that not belong to them. If you want to really want secure stuff, this is usually used by enterprise, by company to protect the corporate account. So for example, in Google, we use this kind of stuff in our desktop or our laptop. So it means I cannot sign in other laptop without this key plugged into my laptop. So with this, it will be guaranteed that your account only access in the specific device that they that already registered before using this thing. The last thing, I think this is really something that I really like. So if you ask the user before to store their password with the credential manager inside the browser, you can use the credential management API to auto sign in the user. Because sometimes some website basically maybe they clear their cache and then all the cookies. Basically you will lose the session easily. And these days I think the session always shorter because it will be secure. But then input sign in the form again and again, it's something like really painful. So if you're able to ask them, provide them a way to store their password in the browser, and then you can use that one to automatically sign in the user without need input the form, just like this, as you see on the screen. So this is the thing that after we able to ask them sign in into our website, we want to make sure also the user able to check out smoothly. We already learned a lot of things about what the best practices to provide the form and easily to input by the users. So if you adopt those kind of best practice with the checkout form that you have, that will be amazing. But then we still have something we can do with the checkout form. As you know, checkout form basically have these two things to input. So you provide the shipping info for the physical goods, not for the digital goods, and you provide the payment info. The traditional way to do this checkout process, you build two forms, one for the shipping form and second one for the payment form. But the modern way to do these things is using something like this. So if you provide a checkout form like this, you can easily replace the traditional way that we already have before by using some kind like these things. So remember, if you have a checkout form and you ask something data like a payment, please always use the autofill because it will be super helpful. Be careful about this kind of stuff. If you enable the autocomplete in the form, there is a potential issue if you use also the autocomplete with the JavaScript. So as you see in the screen, you ask the user to autocomplete the country data, but then you have the autocomplete attribute as well to autofill that one. So be careful with this because this kind of stuff usually break each other. So if you build a custom input field, consider still use this kind of stuff. So if you want to provide something that similar like before, consider to adopt the standard way to provide autocomplete like this. Because with this, then the browser will understand that you want to do autocomplete. So it won't overlay the things like before, and then basically break the way the form working. And this is also how you can input the credit card. So if you use the autocomplete attribute for the payment form, you can easily use these things. And also, I think I find out there is a way, I think in Safari. So if you use the autocomplete CC number, there's a website that allow you to scan the credit card instead of input it manually. So you don't, they using some kind of like text recognition things and allow you to input this thing only if you enable the autocomplete with this CC number. But if you want to provide the easiest one again, there's a modern API that we already have. So to replace the checkout form, you can use the payment request API, and it will be looks like this. So payment request basically a way to standardize the checkout form. So no matter what kind of website you are using to having the e-commerce transaction, you will see the same checkout form like this. Of course, it will be fallback to your traditional form if the browser not support this API. So you still need to provide a traditional checkout form, but still consider to use this one if the browser support it by enable the payment request API. So you don't need to, input the data. You only need to select what kind of a payment you want to use and which address you want to use as well for the transaction. And then for the payment, you can use also the same new API. We call it this one a payment handler. So if you have like a payment processing like this, consider use payment handler, because the traditional way usually use iframe or they use redirect things. But then whenever you redirect user to other websites, sometimes the redirect process is not completely able to return you to the your own website, because it's break in the way it's redirect between each website. But using the payment method like this, you will have some kind of like a dialogue that if you close or something happen, it will return you to the same website again like this. And if you use it together, basically you will have this kind of experience. You just need to select what kind of which one that you want to use for the transaction, and it will be help the user to authorize without input all the data, because the data basically are stored inside the browser, and you can use for all the website that you that support this API. Wrap up. First, the first rule about the UX is more about don't ask too much data. The less friction you have, the easiest way for the user to complete the goal. It will be help the user to not distract or get away from the goal that you set before. In this case, for e-commerce, means we want the user to do transaction. So don't give too much friction for the user before they get into transaction. And consider to use the input attribute instead of using JavaScript to do several functions on your form, because with the input attribute, you can provide a lot of functionality for your form. And it will be work on all browsers, including in the screen reader as well. And please use the semantic HTML. It will be good for the screen reader, for accessibility, and also focus on the basic form. Try to make your basic form work first, and then you can enhance the form with the JavaScript if you want. And then don't let the user input the data all manually, because we have already the autocomplete attribute, and also consider to use the modern payment API to allow user do the transaction faster. So I think that's all from me. Whenever you wanna read about the whole things there, just go to the web.dev. There's article over there talking about the best practice and stuff. And also, if you want to ask questions anytime outside this event, you can reach me on Twitter with @tjohan. I think that's all from me. Thank you, and then I return to Eric.
Yep, thank you, Johan. So maybe we can answer some of the questions from the chat. Right, I think I'm going to put this one up because it's a little long.
Yeah,
so
that's easier.
Yep. So what if the same customer? Yeah, I mean I spot on the screen. So
yeah. So what if the same customer use the e-commerce site frequently and doesn't sign up? Doesn't this require a higher amount of time and space for them to process the request? So please consider that the user, even they not sign up, but the data that they have or required to input for the checkout might be already stored with their own browser. So means even they not sign up, if they have the data inside the browser and you enable the autocomplete attribute inside your input field, means they able to check out faster because they just need to select the data and that's it. So you don't need to, basically even they not sign up, they just need to authorize to use the data from the browser with the autocomplete attribute. Means still faster, even they don't sign up, right? So, yeah.
Right. Okay. So next question from Abdul Ahad. Yep. It's on the screen.
Yeah. How we can make sure the website fits all the Android device? So usually if we talking about build responsive website, we need to set our targeting device. And if we talking about layout, means we talking about screen size. So if we want to consider, want to make sure our website work on all targeting devices, just targeting the smallest one. So if you can make your website work on the smallest one, it will be easier for you to make the website work on the bigger one. Because shrink the layout into the smaller one will be harder than shrink up. So just targeting the smaller one first, and then it will be guaranteed your website will be work on all screens as well.
Cool. Right. And I know that in Chrome DevTools you can choose a lot of different screen sizes as well.
Yes.
And just test there.
Yeah, you can just switch over there and just make sure. And that's the thing I mentioned before on the Chrome DevTool. Even the Chrome DevTool provides you a way to test your website with the screen, but then the Chrome DevTool not provide you a way to test the keyboard. So the keyboard basically could be an issue and hide your element inside your screen.
Right, because it doesn't show up, right?
Yeah. So make sure you test on your real device, and you can debug with the Chrome Remote debugging tool.
Okay. Next question. May you share the presentation slides?
Yeah, I'll let the GDG decide. Yeah, I think my slide is okay. I can share with you later. Then you can consider to share with the other or not.
Oh yeah, definitely. So I guess we can share it on our Twitter and Facebook, and maybe Johan, would you, if you share on your Twitter account as well, so we can get more people.
I think better. Do you have a registration for this event?
Yes, we do. Yeah, I'll just send out the email as well.
Yeah. I think better to send the. So make sure everyone register to the event, because I think if I publish this article like open, I think I don't want to get into like so many questions and stuff. So better just send this slide to everyone who attended this thing.
Okay, right. Okay, so next question. Let's see. Here we go. There's one.
Yeah. A few months ago, Tokopedia got hacked by some people, and they found millions of user account. What do you think about decision how we can make a website more secure? So this is what I think. I always consider a website will be always got hacked, because whenever I sign into a website, I consider there is no way this website will be always safe. So that's why first I always create my password with a password manager. I personally use the LastPass because they have a very good integration. So the first thing you can do, always have unique password for each website that you sign up. That's the first thing. Second, protect your account with two-factor authentication, especially on the e-commerce. Never not set up a two-factor authentication on e-commerce. Third, whenever you input your payment data and you like to have a faster transaction, by allow the e-commerce to use your payment info and then just check out under your authorization, make sure you check what kind of a verification or authorization that need from you before complete the transaction. For example, there's some website that allow you the credit card, and it won't allow a website to do a transaction without these numbers. Means it still need my verification. So you still have your control, even you already provide your payment, but all transactions supposed to be under your authorization. Whenever you see the website already adopt these things, so it's your choice. But for me personally, I never see any website always guarantee never got hacked. So yeah.
Okay, right. I think we have a little problem with the YouTube right now. Let's see. Sorry.
Oh,
yeah, we have
Henry mentioned about if you can
Oh, yeah.
test the keyboard layout, just set into Nexus 5X in Chrome DevTools. Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, that's a good one. But then make sure the targeting device that you have has the same screen size with the Nexus 5X, just to make sure.
Right. I just want to mention we seem to have a little bit of a cut just now to YouTube. So if you want to catch that missing part, maybe you can go to our Facebook and check because the stream didn't get cut off there. Right. Okay. So next question. Can I have the slides? Okay, I think there's a question for me. I will actually share this. I will reopen. What should I do? Perhaps we can have a link to the slides here now. Is that okay with you? If you put it in our chat, would that be okay?
I need to do something with the slide because all slides under my Google account couldn't share with link directly. I need to add manually one by one. So I need to move first the slide to my Gmail account to allow me share the link without register each of you to that slide. So yeah, I couldn't do that now, but I could do it later.
Right. Okay. I mean, if it's not possible, we can always rewind this video, right? Because it's recorded.
Yeah. That will be easier, right? And also, if you see my slide directly without the explanation, I don't think you'll able to get the whole points, right? Yeah.
I think we should just go with that. No, pretty sure the context is very important.
Yeah. Your call. I'll give you the slide. You can share with the others for the registered one. Yeah.
Okay. Yep. So I think it's just best to rewind here. Anyways, if there's any more no more questions, we can. Any more questions? Actually, if we have no more, we can finish up. Maybe you can make this a bit more interesting. Hello.
Hello.
Yay.
So, I guess if there's no more question, we can end this Johan's part.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you, everyone.
Sorry. As usual, if you have questions, you can reach Johan on his Twitter.
Yes.
Johan. Yep. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Johan.
Thank you, Eric, for the time and everyone.
Right. Okay. So let me just. Okay. So, thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you so much to Jasin from DevSpace Singapore. So you can visit their Facebook page, fb.com/devspacesg, and we are Google Developers Kuala Lumpur, Google Developer Group Kuala Lumpur. So our Facebook will be GDG Kuala Lumpur. So that's where we post most of our stuff. And thank you so much to Johan and Henry. I don't think it's very easy to speak directly to a screen, right, instead of a live audience. It's not.
Yeah.
It's very different. Yeah, but thank you so much for joining us today. And there's going to be an event by DevSpace Singapore actually next week, right?
Yep.
So the link will be down there, google.goo.gl/devspeakerready. So I think maybe you can talk a little bit more about it.
Yeah, so thanks so much, Henry and Johan. So if you are watching the session and you want to speak at future events, maybe you have a tech presentation you would like to share, but you don't really know how to get started, the session next Saturday that we are having will really help you. We will cover how you can create a technical presentation and also deliver an engaging talk. So it will be happening on Saturday next week at 10:30 a.m. Yep. And also, it's Henry's birthday today. We just found out a few hours ago. Yeah, so thanks so much for sharing your knowledge with us on your birthday.
I don't know. I should feel sad or happy about this.
Happy birthday, Henry. Woo!
Yeah.
Thanks for spending your birthday with us. Okay. Yep. I think
everyone's celebrating right now with him.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. I think that should be it. Again, if the links to the stream will be up in our Facebook and Twitter and our email on PTix if you sign up on PTix. Maybe I can reopen the ticket thing again if it allows, because I'm not sure if the event's over and you still can register or not, that kind of thing. I'll double check, but it'll definitely be on our Facebook page, which is fb.com/GDG Kuala Lumpur. Okay. Thank you so much for joining us today on a Saturday. I think that will be it.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.